Right. Thank you very much for tuning into this video, which is episode 1 of a series on drum synthesis. This one is going to be about cymbals, and I wanted to make this series because there's a couple of methods that I've come up with trying to find the way to organic kind of analog sound, but with synthesis. And I've gotten pretty good results, so I kind of wanted to share them. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and make a hi-hat and then a ride cymbal and a crash. So first things first, you're gonna want to get a reference. It's very good to work with references because if you're going for a specific sound, and especially realistic kind of sounds, you really need to verify the harmonic content to know what you're gonna try to replicate. This is the only tool that I'm going to be using outside of Ableton because it just has the perfect hold function, which is the spectrum analyzer called span. And this is the hi-hat that I'm going to be referencing. It's stock Ableton hi-hat. So if I hold in here and I check where the harmonic content of the sound begins, it's roughly at about 210 hertz. That for the hi-hat is going to be a high pass filter, and drop down the resonance a little bit just to take away the lows of the sound, because we can already see that there's no information there. So the next thing to consider is the first peak here, which is at C#5 18 cents. That's going to be C#4 in Corpus. We're going to go ahead and set it right now. See here. We're going to go back to operator and get back to Corpus in a bit. So for the first part of the sound, you want to check the length of your clip, which is 944 milliseconds, and this is going to be a noise envelope. You're going to drop the sustain, and you're going to get the decay and release time to be 944. You're going to map the volume to the velocity, and maybe drop the level here on the oscillator a little bit, and what you have is this. Oh, my bad, forgot to set up the noise. So that's the first part. Moving on to Corpus, you're going to set the emulation to plate and full, and also the material to 100% so that it emulates metal completely. You also want to 100% the dry wet knob, dial back the width a lot so that it mixes the harmonic content on both sides and helps it with the hi-hat quality. And you're going to want to bleed it out a lot as well, because you want to bring back the noise, which is also very much part of a hi-hat. The hit is going to be best at 25%, and the decay time is going to be set to the length of your clip, the clip that you're referencing, in milliseconds. For the ratio, the best range for a hi-hat is from 80 to 85. I would like to have a better reason as to why that is, but I'm going to be using 85% because I like my hi-hats a bit on the lower side, if I can say it like that. And then you're left with these three knobs here, which are the brightness, spread, and enharmonic of the sound. Right now you have this. I'm going to bring the level of the oscillator back up a little bit. So for the spread, I like to crank it all the way up and then dial it back until I feel like I'm back to where I started, but not really, because if you A/B it, you're actually doing something. It's a nice touch, but you're not losing the sound. Okay, so for this next part, I'm gonna need to see the spectrum. Here, what you're gonna do is this peak here, this resonant peak, you're gonna want to push the inharmonics of the sound until it's out of the spectrum. Okay, I'm about almost there, and there you go. If I use the arrow keys and I bring it back to 85, you can see it right here again. At 86, it's no longer there. So that's the sound. You can use the brightness to carve out the transient a little bit if it's too harsh. And you have to use the gain on the corpus to get some more of that sound out. Last but not least, you're gonna high shelve it. Oops. Here at around 2000. Yeah, sort of. 2000 will be fine. Maybe soft flip it. And that's it. That's your sound. So we resample this here. And that's your hi-hat. And you should try these kinds of things on MIDI clips. You should have a MIDI clip ready so that you can hear your sound and listen if you have to tweak anything, because there may be some funny stuff going on there that you can only hear if you put your sound within a groove or a rhythm. All right. So moving on, for the right cymbal, you're gonna end up with a lower fundamental usually when you see your reference, and you're gonna have to push the ratio a bit further because it's a bigger cymbal. The inharmonic you're gonna have to push a bit further as well in order to get that first resonant peak out of the spectrum. And then for what you're gonna want to do is dial it back on the gains, on the EQ, on the corpus, because basically a ride and a crash, you can get that from the same cymbal. It depends on how you strike it. So you just want to take away a bit of the intensity of the sound. You can also see that I brought up the brightness even a little bit further to carve out a bit of that transient, because you kind of need that in order for this to sit in a mix all right. And this is what I got. On a MIDI example, it would sound like this. I do have to tell you that I brought up the start of the sample forward a little bit because it had like a little bit of a weird attack. And if you do this, it's gonna sound quite a bit more like the actual start of a right cymbal. Yes. And last but not least, I have this crash. For the crash cymbal, what you want to do is, again, lower fundamental, bigger ratio, a bit further on the inharmonic push, and really push it on the gain on the corpus. Even if you have to push it back on the level of the oscillator, push the gain on the corpus, push the gain on the EQ. You want this to resemble somebody striking the plate really hard. And last but not least, I use a shaper to modulate the high shelf so that it mimics the bloom of a cymbal, which is when the energy on the lower harmonics slowly gets transferred to the higher harmonics, to the upper harmonics. And it's gonna sound like this. And that's about it. I hope that this video will prove to be useful for Ableton users who want to synthesize organic sounds and go for stuff like that. And that's gonna be it for me. If you like the video, support it in any way you see fit, and I hope to see you around next time. Signing out.